Hi everyone.
Hi everyone. This is Dr. Piantek. I just wanted to take a few moments and review Chapter 12 of the Terry text. We are going to be diving into data analysis. The objectives for this PowerPoint presentation is that at the completion of this PowerPoint, you will be able to differentiate between descriptive and inferential statistics, discuss the use of a frequency distribution, describe the three measures of central tendency, describe 4 levels of measurement, and describe the process with narrative and thematic analysis. When using descriptive statistics, there are 2 overarching methods of analysis. One is univariate analysis, and the other is bivariate analysis. With univariate analysis, we're really only looking at the characteristics of one variable, whereas with bivariate analysis, we're looking at characteristics of more than one variable. Part of descriptive statistics is looking at the distribution of the values on a variable. So for example, if we want to know how many times a certain group of participants responded to a specific variable, we're looking at frequency distribution. I've given you an example here of the variable of number of years as a registered nurse. And I have 2 groups of nurses, Group A and Group B. In this column under number of years as a registered nurse, we have the timelines of 0 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, and 11 to 15 years. In Group A, 30 of the participants indicated that they have been a nurse from 0 to 5 years. Whereas with Group B, 36 of the nurses participating in the study indicated that they were a nurse for 0 to 5 years. I just put this example up here to show you that when we categorize frequencies of a specific value that we are wanting to know, it gives the reader a good idea about, first of all, the number of participants in the study, and secondly, it provides a clear indication as to how they responded. Central tendency is also another descriptive statistical method. With central tendency, it is an estimation of the center point of distribution of our values on a specific variable. There are 3 ways that we measure central tendency. One is the mean, another one is the median, and finally the mode. If we want to look at the average of the group values, we would use the mean. For example, I have 8 respondents, and they have indicated values of 7, 5, 6, 3, 6, 9, 5, 5. So participant 1, they have indicated a value of 7, participant 2, a value of 5, participant 3, a value of 6, and so on. So what we do to calculate the mean is we add all the values together. And in doing so, we get a number of 46. Then we take that number and divide it by all of the values indicated. We have 8. 46 divided by 8 gives us 5.75. So the mean, the average of all of the values, is 5.75. Another measure of central tendency is the median. So if we look at our numbers 7, 5, 6, 3, 6, 9, 5, 5, we reorder the numbers from least to greatest, which now gives us 3, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 9. Then we look at the scores that are in the middle. And because we're using 8 values, we need to look at the 4th and the 5th value because those are the values in the middle. If we were using an odd number of values, we can simply use the number that is specifically in the middle. But since we have 8 numbers and it's an even number of values, we take the 2 middle values, which is 5 and 6. Then we add those 2 values together, and in this instance, gives us 11. And then we divide that by 2. 2 numbers gives us a value of 5.5. So our median, which is the score that is exactly in the middle of the group of values, is 5.5. The third measure of central tendency is the mode. And this comes into play when we want to know the score that occurs most frequently in a set of values. So using our same set of values, what we will do is we will make a column of the values here and how often the value occurs. So with the value of 7, it occurs once in our data collection. The value of 5, it occurs 3 times. The value of 6 occurs twice. And the values of 3 and 9 occur once each time. So the mode is 5, as there are more values of 5 than any other value. When we want to know the spread of values around the central tendency, we use dispersion. And there are 2 measures of dispersion that are commonly used. First one is the range, and the second one is standard deviation. The range is very simple to calculate. We simply look at our values on the variable that we're measuring. We subtract the lowest value from the highest value. So using the same values, our highest value is 9, and our lowest value is 3. So we subtract 3 from 9, and it gives us the range of 6. The standard deviation is calculated between the distance of each value and the mean. For the purpose of the DNP, you are not expected to calculate the standard deviation by hand. This would require a more advanced course in statistics. But there is software available, such as SPSS, that will calculate the standard deviation for you if this is relevant for your project. So let's move on now and discuss the levels of measurement. When we're looking at data, there are 4 levels of measurement: the nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. And looking at the nominal level, think categories. So basically, this level is used to classify objects, events, values into categories. So the numbers are assigned to categories and only labels are used. It does not mean that one is greater than the other. So when we think about examples of gender or smoking status, religion, these are all considered nominal levels. So females are not greater than males, gender neutral is greater than female. It's just basically a simple way of categorizing. When we are measuring nominal data, you're going to use the central tendency of the mode value. If we measure variability, or in other words, some additional descriptive statistics, we can use the range and the frequency distribution. And typically speaking, at the DNP level, the data that you're gathering really is going to be looking at that frequency distribution. With the ordinal level of measurement, there are ranks with the objects or events. So the responses are ranked in a higher versus lower attributed category. An example of this would be the stages of change. So if you remember, if you're looking at someone's stage of change, they could be in the pre-contemplation level, which they have no insight into or no drive to change. The contemplation, they're thinking about changing their behavior, and at the active level, they are changing their behavior. So there are different meanings behind that category. To measure this, you would use the mode or median. Measure the central tendency, you would use the mode or the median. And to measure the variability, you can use the range or, again, the frequency distribution. The third level of measurement is the interval level. And responses are ranked on a scale with equal intervals. An example of this is if you use the Epidemiologic Studies Depression Scale. It's a 20-item scale with scores that can range from 0 to 60. So in other words, you have a range of scores that are equally distributed within their intervals. So in this fashion, if you're going to measure central tendency, you can look at the mean of scores, the median of scores, or the mode of scores. If you're looking to measure the variability, you can use range or standard deviation. The final level of measurement in a research project is the ratio. This is when responses are ranked with equal intervals between the numbers on the scale, but there is a presence of an absolute zero. An example of this is weight. So we know that you can have an absolute zero when it comes to weight. And from that point, the possible responses increase. When you're measuring central tendency using ratio, you can use mean, median, or mode. And measuring the variability, you can use either the range or the standard deviation.